Okay, thank you, Alan. And good morning all. I think there's a few welcomes and introductions that we probably need to do before we look at the agenda and go through some of the items. Kelly, have we got any, can we go through apologies, please?
Stuart Millington.
Okay. So I know there's a few others that we probably not had notifications of, I'm guessing, so that would have been if I did.
Yeah, we've not received any. No.
Thank you. I think in terms of welcomes then and a few introductions, because there's a lot of new faces on the table, mine included as well. So I think it's worthwhile just doing it as some basic introductions so everyone's aware of who's sat around the table. So I'll kick off. I'm Dean Loader, I'm the Director for Service Delivery. And then there's Paige Birch coming today in and around the chair of this committee as well. So I'll go around this way with Chris.
Chris Williams, Head of ICT.
Kelly Williams, Secretariat.
Lee Bankham, Senior Procurement Officer.
Gabrielle Greathead, interim.
Alison Reid, Director of People Services, and Delegated Scheme Manager.
Anna Clifford, Governance Support Officer.
If we can come to you, please, Gareth, online.
Yeah, I'm Gareth Tovey. I am an operational firefighter and crew manager at Caerphilly, and also the brigade chair of the Fire Brigades Union. I sit at this committee as an employee representative.
Okay, thank you for that, Gareth. I think in terms of the welcomes, obviously, I know Alison's going to take us through some of the papers later on, the chairperson.
Dean.
Yeah,
sorry,
Dean.
Apologies.
Sorry, Dean, leaving the best till last. I'm
well pointed out.
I'm Ian Trailer, the Service Director of Pensions, Procurement and Transactional Services at the Cynon County Council, and I participate on the board as we provide administration on behalf of South Wales Fire in relation to the fire service scheme.
Okay, thank you. Just my awareness, how long have we doing that already as part of this?
As part of the board now, probably since the start, I think, in terms of the board actually being initiated, certainly early doors, we've come along and participated as part of the pension board. But RCT have been doing the administration for, I'm not sure the exact date, but long years, yeah, long time.
Okay, thank you for that. Apologies as well. Thank you. So I know there's quite a few items on the agenda for us to go through today. We are missing a few people. I know Kim's not available as well. In terms of declarations of interest, I'm not sure if there's any around the table or anything online that anybody needs to declare. Okay. So chairperson's announcement, I think just for myself is to welcome you all. This is obviously my first meeting. I know we've got a few new faces around the table as well, but obviously there's a lot of consistency there. I think Ian with the art history as well, and Alison as well. It's going to bring some continuity, I guess, to the community for us as well. So we may need to lean on you throughout the course of the meeting and future meetings as well, I guess. So we got reports for decision, and obviously there's a number of reports for information as well to go through. Dave King is here. Okay, thank you. So I guess we'll go to item number 4 then, Alison.
Good, Chair. So this report confirms the appointment of the new chair, which is ACFO Dean Loader, and confirms that the role of new manager has been closed by myself, by the commissioners for South Wales Fire and Rescue Service. What I have done as part of the report is attached to Appendix A, the members' handbook. Now, this was prepared probably a couple of years ago upon my joining the board, and what it aims to do is bring together all relevant information around fire pensions. I say relevant as I think members need to have, and picks up the terms of reference for the pension board. What I have done is I've done a cursory update to reflect the commissioners being appointed, so what their role is, what my role is. And then left pretty much the remainder of the handbook as was. Now, I've included the full handbook because I thought it's useful for you as members to see it and read it. But also, if you have any observations on it, probably now is the time to share those. I'm not expecting too many observations because a lot of it is copied out of the pension regulator pages in terms of the code, what we do in terms of breaches of law and how we handle those. So a lot of it is shifted and lifted from existing rules and regulations. However, the terms of reference, I would say, probably up for grabs in terms of a discussion if you wanted to go through those in detail. What I would share is the quorate arrangements for this committee, which are really important for us, because if we're not quorate, then we don't run the meeting, as we discovered previously. So currently our quorum arrangements are at least 4 people must be present, including the chair and at least 1 employee representative. So we have met that today. So really, that's as much as I want to say by way of an introduction. Happy to take comments or questions or observations, even comments on the handbook. Is it helpful or not? Are the things you thought you should or would like to have seen and are not in there? We will talk about training and development for the board next as one of the next items, but hopefully it gives you a bit of a heads up in terms of the information that you need to discharge your duty as a member of this board. Any comments, questions? Gareth?
Yeah, thank you. And it's more a comment in line with the new makeup of the board. I think it's important that we note that historically the Fire Authority provided members to sit on this board and chair it. It would appear that the commissioners who are now discharging the functions of the Fire Authority will not be sitting on this board. And we just need to note the risk there then that of that awareness and engagement with them in their function of discharging the functions of the Fire Authority. Personally, I think with everything that's going on with pensions and it being such a hugely technical area, it might be a bit of a step backwards to not have a commissioner as part of this very important local pension board. But happy to discuss that, or maybe just note it as a concern and a risk we may need to manage going forward. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Gareth. I think we will note your comment. I think that the one observation that I would make is in line with the door's just open, which has distracted me, in line with the scheme manager guidance that's been issued by the LGA on who should be a scheme manager or not. There is within the guidance note the opportunity to delegate the role of the scheme manager, and hence why commissioners have appointed myself in that role. But yeah, we will note your comment and it will be fed back to the commissioners if that's okay.
Thank you, Gareth. Is there any other comments from anyone else? I think just for my benefit. So we know the quorum.
Yeah.
It says including the chair.
Yeah.
Would you, if I'm not available, is it appropriate to have a deputy chair or anything of that nature?
Yeah,
to step in?
I would say Ian's nodding as well that we should we should appoint a deputy chair in your absence.
Okay. Is that something we can do flexibly at the time, or would we need to set that more formally?
I know on our LGA board we haven't got a formal deputy, but somebody will deputise on the day. We believe that's within the regs to allow that meeting to go ahead.
There's a little bit of flexibility.
Yes, yeah.
That's great. Okay. And the other question from me was around the handbook. I'm just wondering, Where do we store a copy of this? Is it just available for us as board members? Or is there something that it's stored on our internet somewhere or on a page?
It's a good question. Currently, it's stored only for us as members,
Okay,
but it could be something. I mean, I've been chatting to Gareth that more generally about communication.
Yeah.
And there's nothing in there that isn't in the public domain, I would suggest. So I'm looking at Chris
Yeah.
Williams now, but if we could perhaps upload this into our pensions site, maybe that's something that we could consider as
Yeah.
being available to staff as well.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah,
I'll wait for that, Rita.
Yeah.
Chris.
thank you.
Again, Gareth?
Yeah, sorry, and I wasn't necessarily prepared to speak about this, but just in regards to that question about the deputy chair, if on page 4 of the handbook in Appendix A, at the top of that page, point D, it kind of states that the chair can neither be an employee or an employer representative. So I just wonder if you weren't here, Dean, and we were minded to make someone else who is in either an employee or an employer representative, you know, a deputy chair, I'm not sure we'd be in line with that kind of rule, would we?
Just point me out in the handbook, where we point out that, which point is it?
I
Okay.
believe we're on Appendix A, page 4, which I think is page 10 or 11 of the document bundle, page 10, yeah. And it's the top paragraph, really. Membership of the local pension board.
The employee or employer rep. Ian, I would imagine though, Ian, that could be either an employee or an.
Well, I just know in our local government, our chair is actually is employer rep. So
Employer.
that's, just wonder whether the wording.
Could I suggest that maybe we just do some research and then decide, you know, what arrangement we should have in place if Dean as chair can't make it?
Yeah.
No, I'm happy with that, Tom. Yeah, it's not thanks for pointing it out as well. Yeah, we'll pick that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there any other queries for Alison in this paper? Because I know there was 2 recommendations here.
Yes. Yes. So that members confirm the appointment of the new chair, which is Dean Loader, and that members review terms of reference, which you have done, and thank you for your feedback. We'll take away and review.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we all in approval with recommendations? Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah.
Sorry, just a quick one.
Yeah.
Trying to get Dave King into the meeting. We haven't issues joining.
Okay, next one down is a public sector toolkit, which is a verbal update on the day.
Yeah, so thank you, Chair. So this is a requirement of members of local pension boards, which is to undertake the public sector toolkit training. So this is your training and development piece. So what we will do after this meeting, basically it's an online package. It takes you through your role on the board, the sorts of things you need to look out for in terms of governance, and kind of, you know, all the stuff that, well, some of the stuff that the handbook actually covers.
Shall I have a vision?
I've myself out now.
Okay, so yeah, so what the toolkit will do, if you've read the handbook, it'll be the grounding for you doing the toolkit. There's a lot of information in there around governance issues, reporting breaches of the law and that sort of stuff. And it's really a good, it does give you a good grounding in terms of discharging your duties as board members. it does take a couple of hours to complete, I will not lie, but it is very straightforward. It's, you know, it's practical and you will understand it. There's some questions at the end of each section. So I would suggest that you allocate an afternoon or a morning to do it. But we are, it is a requirement of you being on this board, that you undertake it. And I would suggest, I mean, I know everyone is busy, but as a maximum sort of deadline by the next board meeting. But as a minimum, I would say if you can do it within the next 4 weeks, it will really help you understand, you know, why you're here and what we're expecting of you as a board. And, you know, certainly ahead of the next meeting, which I think is probably quite a long time frame. But yeah, so what we'll do after this meeting is we will send you the link to the toolkit with some descriptions of the sections that you need to go into and the part that you need to complete, because there's when you're on the page, there's multiple areas. So we'll pinpoint all that for you. And as I say, I would allocate a good afternoon to it. You can save your work and come back to it. So if you want to do it in bite-sized chunks, you can. I found it easier just to go in and blitz it in an afternoon. So the ask is, please can you undertake this task at least by the next meeting, but ideally within the next 4 weeks, because it will then, some things will hopefully fall into place in terms of your role here.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. No, thanks, Alison. I
Very
think,
One question, how does that fit in with the learning needs analysis then? Do we need to complete that alongside the online learning?
So yeah, so I would say that when we look at we'll do a session. So this is sort of the intro LPB meeting for everyone, because I'm conscious we've got some newbies. So we'll do it in baby steps. If you do the toolkit first, and then we'll bring you in on the TNA bit separately, and then we'll use that as a learning session for each meeting. What we tend to do in the past is we'll do a first off business. So we'll do all the kind of KPIs and everything. And then the second part of the meeting we would use as, you know, you've identified this is a gap. Let's do a session, a training session for you on that gap, so that you're not exposed in any way. And generally Kim and the team, or Ian and his team, will fill those gaps for you. So be brutally honest when you fill in the TNA, you know, if there's areas that you're not sure of, or you would like a top-up training session on, we'll run those. All right.
So thank you.
Yeah, we still can't get a minute on it.
I'll
Trying everything we can.
Thank you. No, thanks, Alison, for the update as well. And so I think it'll probably be an action for us to
Yes.
clarify at the next board meeting that you know you're going to implement, you're going to take that training.
Thank you.
Thank you. So then we go to item number 6, which is reports for information, which is review of key performance indicators.
Thank you, Chair. To recap, I guess, on why I come along to board, RCT provide the administration service on behalf of the scheme manager, South Wales Fire. So we undertake the administration and support yourselves. As part of my feedback into the pension board is to provide members with assurances that we are actively implementing things as intended as part of agreement within the SLA that we have between ourselves and South Wales Fire, and to provide an update on some of the key activities that we work on in conjunction with Alison and the team. So moving on to the report itself, if I can move to page, where's the page numbers? 47, which is the first table of the performance indicators. Now, fire service clearly have a number of schemes, so we provide an updated performance for pension board in relation to some of the key performance indicators that we measure our service against. for board's information and opportunity to discuss. So here we have on page 48 as an example, the standardized measures that we record. So the top one there, percentage of refund of contributions processed within 10 days, divorce estimates processed within 10 days. So these are some of the key activities that we record on your behalf in terms of some of the timelines and some of the expectations. So you can be assured that members are receiving the service that they should be receiving. And throughout the year, we'll provide updates, sort of quarterly updates to Pension Board as we meet. This particular one provides the update for the full year. So you've got the full year completed within this table. The comments field towards the end, so that the column after March, that always relates to the period, the previous period in question. So here would relate to March. It's not that no cases were completed for the whole year. It's in relation to the current tracking and the current reporting period. And then final column on there says year to date actual. So we monitor that percentage as it goes throughout the year in terms of our compliance against that standard. So again, by example, if we look at divorce estimates processed within 10 days on that table in March, well, in January, February and March, it was 100%. So whatever. So I don't have the full number of cases for January, February and March, but we did about 100% of the time. So those estimates were issued within 10 days. The one when it says one case completed on time, it just purely relates to the prior month. So that's March. We don't give the total over track the total through other than the cumulative percentage. So those are those cases. Again, right down at the bottom, we can see this retirement and active membership processed within 5 days. That's on the basis of us receiving all the information at the relevant point. The clock starts ticking in to issue that benefit. 4 cases completed, all on time, would relate to the March. Over the full year, we were 95.83% compliant. So there were 1 or 2 cases in that mix. And we appreciate in the discussions we've had previously at board around some of the complexity on some of the benefits do incur some delays. So it's for board to be aware of that, really, that there are delays on occasions. But I suppose it's looking at it in the round, and hopefully we provide you with reassurance that within the round, on the majority of cases, we're able to meet the standards that we set up within the service level agreements. So the other tables, again on the survey on page 49, etc. They're just in relation to the different schemes, the different outcomes, cases, and again on page 51, where we see under the scheme 2015 members, we've got a number of preserved benefits processed within 10 days coming through. So in March we completed 20 cases there, all on time. Clearly there's been some activity against that particular performance indicator. So those are the indicators, Chair. I'm happy at this stage to pause there and take any questions on the indicators before I move on to some of the key activity on page 50.
Eyes all of a sudden. I think we're up and running, Scott. Thank you. Cheers, bye. Thank you. Sorry for that. Sorry for that. I can hear you. Sorry for that interruption. I'll switch my microphone off. It's lovely to see you all. Sorry for the delay, technical problems by the sound of things.
That's okay, Dave. Just for your reference then, we've gone through, we're on item 6 at the moment on the agenda, so you've got a copy in front of you, Dave, yeah, you okay? Okay, thanks. So Ian's just taken us through item number 6, and we've literally just gone through the appendix on page number 48 through to page 52. Give you a minute just to catch up, I think, no rush. Okay, thank you, Dave.
So there's no quick.
Gareth's got his hand up. I don't
Well-
know if it's a new hand or from the floor.
Hi, Gareth.
Thank you all. Thank you, Ian, for the report. Just in the spirit of the discussion that we had around training and awareness, I wonder whether there may be, I mean, I certainly would see some value personally if we could maybe at the next board meeting discuss more about what those KPIs mean at a ground level. I know they're clearly stated in the column furthest left, you know, refund of contributions processed within 10 days, but I'll be honest, I don't have a good feel for what that practically means for individuals. So maybe we could have a discussion around what each of these KPIs mean to the individuals that are you know, accessing their pensions, and I think that would give us a broader understanding then of being able to scrutinize where we are and aren't meeting those. Just my views. Thank you.
Yeah, just to add to that, what I was going to suggest was that we bring the SLA to the board as well, because it'll be an opportunity for board to see what that looks like and what the commitments are in there. So we could perhaps do a rounded SLA KPI discussion. Yeah.
Yeah, you capture that, Kelly?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Gareth.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Moving on to page 53, appendix 2, the table at the top relates to the numbers of scheme members that access the member self-serve functionality. Obviously, it's clearly important to keep the scheme members informed and have the ability to look at their own details within the system that we're recording for them. So we have member self-serve functionality that's rolled out, and it's really positive. Some of those numbers in terms of in terms of the 92 scheme total membership, so 87% of people are of the active members are actually registered on the self-service. It's clearly important that as many as possible register for the scheme. So we've got actives, we've got leavers, deferred members. Deferred members is an important one, as well as people move on, perhaps change jobs or location, that they still they still have the ability to tap in and look at their pension benefit, and that sort of links into perhaps the national dashboard program that Alison will cover off as part of people accessing their different pension pots through that vehicle. So it's important that we can get as many members as possible signed up to the member self-serve. But it's really positive, the numbers. In terms of scheme member complaints, as we've agreed previously, that we will report.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, certainly.
It just pops out at me. 2006 scheme, status 6 dependents, you've got 0%, yet you've got 14 people. So is that 14 people that can access it that didn't?
Yes, I think that's the total. So the total membership there is 14.
Right.
So at the moment on that dependent status,
No one has access.
no one's access.
Right.
Now, dependents could be children.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, so at this point in time, perhaps that would be the case for them, that they're not gonna set up a set up a member thing, but also it could be somebody else as part of that dependent process. So it's just part of our reporting. So that might change, or it might stay at that level.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
In terms of the scheme member complaints, we've agreed, as I said previously, with the pension board, that we will report any formal complaints that come through as part of our reporting. Moving on to some of the key administration activities. It's fair to say we have regular meetings with Alison's team to be able to certainly progress matters. There's so many changes, as you'll be aware, around some of the schemes and impact on McLeod ongoing, and so we have regular catch-up sessions with Alison and the team to help progress some of those matters. We also sit in on the technical briefing, so at the national level as well, we're aware of some of the changes where, you know, we're clearly aware and keep up to speed on some of the national events that is happening. Second bullet down there, the template has changed in relation to the immediate choice cases. That's something we're currently working on with Alison and the team. In terms of the correspondence that's been drafted, and we're working on that first cohort. The deadline was relaxed and pushed out to the end of June, but we've yet to finalise that process. My understanding that's consistent across fire, not just in relation to South West Fire. So that's something we're keen to conclude. The RCT are due to produce the 2024 annual benefit statements to show the rollback position on the legacy position. We have a statutory deadline provided by the pension regulator that we have to provide annual benefit statements by the 31st of August every year. The statements we will be providing will be a rollback position on the legacy position. So in terms of how these inform and help members, it's still a bit up in the air because of the changes that still need to be implemented as part of some of the scheme updates. So that's but that is the current position. That's what other fire services will be providing as well by the 31st of August. We're working on some of the pensioners' backdated pay increases. So this is consistent to any sort of delayed pay award, really. It will impact on people who finished during the time the pay award was introduced, and therefore we go back, recalculate their pension benefit and pay any arrears to them as a result of a delayed backdated pay award. So that's going on at the moment. And again, just to reflect, I suppose, that the RC team attend regular drop-in sessions with Haywood. So Haywood are our software provider, and again, they're the ones that obviously, when scheme changes and everything, they're in the thick of some of those changes to be able to ensure that the technology can undertake the calculations that we require as part of those scheme changes. The only thing I was going to add on this, which isn't included, sorry, Chair, on this key administration, but we are working again with Alison on the team, is that the general code of practice of the regulator, it was amended and implemented from the 27th of March 24. So when we referenced the regulate a code of practice. This general code of practice is a new code which consolidates all the previous codes into one code. The scheme manager is required to undertake a gap analysis, and at the end of that, undertake what's called their own risk assessment, and we have 12 months to undertake that risk assessment after implementation. So again, that's something that ourselves from an administration perspective, providing Alison support as the scheme manager, that's something we will work with Alison over this year to undertake initially that gap analysis, and then provide something at the end, then back to pension board around the risk assessment for sign off. I think that's all I was going to say on Alison.
Yeah. I will, as you say, we've got a year to complete that risk assessment, introduced in March of this year. So that'll be a work in progress document over the next few months, and the plan will be to bring that to board for sign off before we submit. Gareth's got his hand up again. New hand, Gareth?
Yeah, me again. Thank you, Ian, for the report. Just two questions. Sticking with page 53, does the figure for the self-serve stats for 2015 scheme members down at 36.23, is that indicative that we have some work to do to raise awareness amongst 2015 members about that good tool that is there available for them, or is it more indicative of the transfer of people from the 92 scheme to the 2015 scheme and of the stats just not caught up? I'm not quite sure. And then second question, still on page 53, the bullet point 4, the pensioners with the backdated pay increase. I think I understand that this is to do with the retrospective pay increase that was provided for the years 22, 23 and 23, 24. If so, would it be possible at the next board meeting to have a firm timescale with which we're working within to get this rectified for those members, because they're currently on a lesser pension than what they should be as such? Thank you.
Yeah, certainly, Gareth. We can provide the feedback in terms of that timeline there. In respect to the table, again, that's probably something I need to take back to the service. It's a valid question, because it sort of stands out that 2015 being quite low in comparison to clearly the percentage take up. So if you don't mind, I'll take that away following this board and just get below that detail a little bit to find out exactly what's going on there. Or could we, as you suggest, you know, send some communication out to encourage, I guess, that sign up there in that particular cohort. There could well be a valid reason, as you said, linked to some of the changes that has resulted in that there.
Can I just add and make a general observation for new members? What I would say around our working relationship is it's been really positive over the last few years. We are one of the few fire and rescue services to introduce immediate detriment payments. So we were actually awarding or allowing people to retire with their options set out. So they were given two options. So one to retire as is based on the scheme that they were in, or another option which was to provide the age discrimination element. So I think that relationship has been really positive over the last few years, and you know that our teams have worked really, really closely. I just wanted you to know that as context around how we work well with RCT as our pension provider.
Okay, thank you, Ian. Is there any other comments or queries from anyone? There's only one question, probably just for my benefit, Ian, it was around the annual benefit statements. You said they will indicate the rollback legacy position. And what is it, any additional communication we need about the staff? So they understand what that actually means?
Yeah, I think that probably would be helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just to manage the expectations as well, because clearly there are still a lot of things that are up in the air for members to actually inform decisions moving forward.
Yeah.
But we can only provide what we can provide at this point in time. And rolling back to a legacy position is probably unhelpful for members, but clearly we still have to comply with what the regulator says. You know, you have to publish an annual benefit statement on the 31st of August, but how meaningful it will be is that's debatable.
Yeah. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about people receiving it and then
Yeah.
maybe not fully understanding it.
Yeah,
That just prompts
Yeah.
more queries to yourselves and Ian's teams as well. That
Yeah.
would
be
be
helpful.
To that, yeah.
Thank you.
Jane?
Okay, is there any other queries from anyone now? Okay, thank you, Ian. Thank you for the report. Okay, so that was item 6, so we go on to agenda item 7. Oh, Kim's not here.
Yeah.
So that you have
Yes.
to talk it through this one.
I will. So thank you, Chair. So this report is quite lengthy. It's the first point. And it's lengthy for the reason that we've got some new members. So what we've done with the actual report is try to share a journey. So it does refer back to a review that was undertaken in 2011, which resulted in a High Court judgment on age discrimination on fire pensions and other pension schemes. Civil service being one. I have a vested interest because I'm a former civil servant with a banked pension there. So basically what we've tried to do in this report is say to you, right, there's 3 main national exercises. The first is McLeod. This is where there was age discrimination found in the system. McLeod seeks to put that age discrimination position right. The second exercise is something called O'Brien. And this is where part-time worker rights, again, subject to court decisions. So there's an extension of a period of time where particularly our on-call staff can access pension rights. So there's that national exercise, and then there's the third one, which is the pensions dashboard exercise. So I'm going to romp through them and just highlight some key information, starting with McLeod. So we know in 2011 there was a review of public sector pensions. We know that resulted in a court judgment saying that there was discrimination in the system. I just mentioned we wanted to fire and rescue services to put that right in terms of offering immediate detriment statements to our firefighters who were due to retire. So one category had options to retire with. Banked, those who were already retired, so banked in the system, did not have that option because of the complications due to tax and the legislation not being agreed. So over the last couple of years, governments have been working on legislation, both UK and Welsh, slight nuances between the two because the fire schemes in Wales and England are not necessarily a replica of each other. So we have been working with RCT on now implementing the new regs, which put right the age discrimination in fire pensions. What you will see, and I'm taking you to paragraph 1.8 as a starter, the first batch of people that we were due to review and put right are those who retired on the grounds of ill health. What you will see in there, each group of staff, so ill health retirements, those who unfortunately have passed away in service, there's specific deadlines to action each of those categories. The ill health was the first batch, and the milestone that was set was the 31st of March. Now, what we in RCT do there is we look at all those people who've retired, we look at their pension offer that was set when they retired, and we revisit that in line with the new regs. However, what has happened recently is HMRC have indicated that there's a tax issue in amongst the new regulations, and it's all around, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ian, it's around offsetting of tax liability. And I think the new regs are basically saying there's no option in the new regs to offset payments. So it's a big issue. They couldn't put it right prior to PERDA. So the election was announced. There wasn't enough time to put legislation, correct the legislation. So it's basically been sat waiting for the new government to come in, whatever the colour looks like. There's going to be potentially delays there, because if it's red in colour, they'll want to review and look at, you know, what the issues are and how they resolve them. So there was an extension of time given to that piece of work to the end of June. As far as we know at this point, that deadline has not been extended. I popped a message out to the LGA just to check where they are, because I've been away for the last week and a bit. I haven't had a response yet, but Ian seems to think that that deadline stood, and that other pension administrators and FRSs have not met that 30th of June deadline. But the reason is because HMRC have not been able to resolve the issues. So it's a bit kind of chicken and egg, really. So what we are now doing is waiting for HMRC to confirm what the position is with regards to tax before we can process, because we will be processing out of our standing orders, our ability to process if we put cases through without the regs in place. So we as a service will be at risk, or scheme manager and the commissioners will be moving at risk if we make any adjustments. So we need the legislation to be in place. I'm going to pause and just check with Ian his understanding on the situation.
I think that's my understanding as well, Alison. You know, we need to make sure that the template as is still fit for purpose. I think that's the important part before we issue anything that could contravene something that you know, we shouldn't have sent it out in the first place. Until we get that clarity, we can't. We can still. There is still work to do in the background in terms of some of the data, and ensuring that we have those calculations and undertaken, because they're going to be manual calculations. That's the thing with these, that the technology hasn't caught up yet with the changes that are being changed quite frequently. So in fairness to the technology, but what that does is result in my team having to do manual calculations as a result of it. But that's something we just have to do. But we need to be sure that what we send out when we send it is correct. So I think we will need that clarity.
And Gareth's got his hand up as well.
Yeah, thanks. And it's just more so to confirm my understanding. Oh, apologies. Just to confirm my understanding also. So with this HMRC tax issue, I think I understand that HMRC don't currently have the mechanism with which to actually deal with this issue, and that mechanism would require legislative change for them to have that. I suppose the question then is, do we anticipate a delay to those timescales quite firmly set out, or do we simply not know yet, which I suspect we simply don't know. But with that in mind, is there risk to us of missing those timescales? Although the issue in a way is out of our hands, but I'm not sure what risk we carry on not meeting those timescales also. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Gareth. So my understanding is that there's some work going on centrally around trying to explore, can FRSs or FRAs move forward outside the legislation with the relevant support and commitment from HMRC that, you know, we won't be taken to court if we are acting outside of regs. but that hasn't emerged yet. So I think there's actions, there's work and discussion going on centrally to allow us to move forward with the relevant assurances that we do so and we won't end up in court. But I haven't had an update on that as yet. I think that dialogue is continuing. But I have popped a message through to the LGA to check where it's at.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's that one. Para 1.10, Ian's covered off the annual benefit statement, so that'll be a rollback position. We'll pick up the action chair around communicating staff. And then into the O'Brien exercise. So this is where, so this affects our on-call staff. This is where the regs have been extended in terms of eligibility for access to pensions. We have written out to 473 on-call staff. And at the point of writing the report, 60 of those have come back to us and said, yes, we would like to access the extended time frame upon which we will get pension benefit for. I have had, just for transparency, through our internal dispute resolution procedure around fire pensions, currently 4 on-call individuals who have written to me to say that as far as you're suggesting, I am not in scope, but please review this position. I have reviewed it and I have allowed them access to the O'Brien rules, so to speak. So the issues for them were that basically in the last exercise, we wrote out to people, if they didn't come back and respond at that point, we left them. They are saying that they responded. We've got no record of that. I've got no evidence audit trail. So I've awarded the benefit of doubt, with hindsight, that we've got no sort of formal audit trail, but they have come back to us. So I've allowed them access to the scheme. So that's for your awareness. I think that's as much as I want to say on the part-time changes. In terms of, Gareth, sorry.
Just with respect of the 460 people, I think it was that you've written, or we've written.
Yeah.
470. What are our confidence levels that we've captured everyone that is in scope for the O'Brien remedy as such?
Yeah, our records are relatively concrete, I would say. So we have files that we've retained from the first exercise. So we've reached out to everyone that we had in our records file. There is a risk that people have moved house, but I think we'll just keep an eye on sort of the numbers coming back through. So yeah, I think we're relatively confident that we've captured everyone that was in as part of the first exercise due to the record keeping that we have here. But yeah, we'll keep board updated on those numbers, and if we do have concerns, and maybe it's something we could discuss at a national level around response rates. So if we're looking quite low, then maybe we've got an issue in South Wales. But yeah, we can pick that up as a piece of work to monitor, I would suggest, Gareth.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. And then the final national exercise is the Pensions Dashboard Programme. This is a national piece of work that's been set out centrally. And this is where, essentially, as I understand it, anyone can log into a portal and check whether they've had a pension at any point of their life, and what that pension looks like, has it grown, and it's kind of one-stop shop for pensions, so it's not limited to public sector pensions. There'll be private pensions in there as well. We've been given an onboarding date of October 2025, I think. There was talk of fire being up front, And I think with all the legislative changes and the complexity around MacLeod and other things going on in fire pensions, that was discussed centrally, and it was agreed that we would be put towards the back of the onboarding timetable. And again, working with Ian and his colleagues to kind of, get ready for that onboarding.
Yeah.
So again, just for your awareness as well.
So a query then, so that this pension dashboard, if I'd worked for a company 30 years ago, they're expecting to have that information
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
From companies that may no longer exist, whose pension pot was sold to one person, sold to another person, sold to another person. That's a fair old undertaking, that.
I think that's the ambition.
You're never going to read
I think the first steps are to get the public sector schemes onboarded, certainly the large public sector schemes onboarded via this portal, and then others join at a point in time. So they'll start over the years building up to this. But I agree. I think some of that old stuff is gone.
Yeah.
That
You've got to chase it down yourself, basically.
yeah. But certainly moving forward, the principle is sound, isn't it? That
Yes.
That people access, they can go in and they can see all their pension pots. But again, it is a big ask. It's been subject to some delays. But a reference Haywood's our IT supplier. They've been heavily involved at a national level with the dashboards program, so they understand the technology, the other side as well. So hopefully it will help smooth any issues when we come to implement this and set those links up next year.
That's good. I like technology.
So that was a run through of the three major projects that we're working on at the moment from a pension perspective. So the recommendations in the report are for members to note the content and note the obligations placed on the scheme manager to ensure that the timelines are met. I'm not scared in any way, but yes, there we go. No pressure, is there?
Oh, thank you, Alison. Is there any queries from anyone else? No, okay, thank you. So we can move on to item 8. Alison, is it back to you again?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. So this, so what I try to do under this report is just highlight relevant information to the board that I think is worthy of your review, your awareness. The links in the online document will take you through to the FPS bulletins. Now you will see, reading those, the main topics are the pension dashboard, MacLeod and O'Brien. There's a lot of technical detail in there, but it's useful for your awareness as a board just to see the journey that the sector is on. Ian's already mentioned the new code of practice and the report, the risk assessment report that I will need to complete as a scheme manager. That's trailed in one of the updates. I will tend to in future give you a bit of a detailed run through of these, but it's really there for you to read in your spare time. I would suggest that these come through to us as practitioners, and I just think it's useful for you as members to have sight of them. They will cover all sorts of things, meetings, the national meetings that are scheduled, the annual general meeting of all of the pensions leads and lots of different stuff. But yeah, I think this is one for you. If you've got a spare 5 minutes, dip in, have a look, and it'll just give you a real time, kind of update on where the exercises are at. What you do need to bear in mind with these is they are written from an English pension, so a UK legislation perspective. Welsh government don't issue the same. So what you will read, there may be some nuances in terms of the Welsh scheme. Generally, Welsh replicate the English, but not always. So that's just my only word of caution in terms of reading the bulletins. But if there's anything you want clarity on once you've had a look, and then knock my door or Ken's door or Julia's, and we can explain where we are from a Welsh scheme perspective. So they're there for you to read.
So on that one, I recently received an email direct from the Local Government Association. Is that just coincidence or is it because
Right,
of part of the
so,
group?
yeah, because you're a formal member of the group, what you will see in future meetings is we submit a return to the pension regulator.
Right, okay.
Your names will be in that return as members of the board. So yeah, we'll share that, but that's an obligation that we have to meet, which is to share the members' details. It's your name, job title, and where you report to, what your permanent work location is.
Okay.
Okay, any queries from anyone else? Okay, thank you, Alison. So we're going to item 9, which is a bit of a forward move program for the committee.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So what I would suggest that we do is we amend the work programme to include the SLA and the KPI conversation. We'll add in also the TNA stuff, because the hope will be that you will have completed your toolkit. We'll bring out then, we'll send the TNA around to you, and we'll have that as a focused discussion around where the gaps are and how we can fill those. We'll also include the risk assessment document that we need to bring to board for sign off. So there's a couple of amendments to the forward work programme that we'll work through with Hannah and the team for next meeting.
That's good. Any queries from anyone else? Start to go your hand up.
Yeah, it was only a quick one, and it's kind of half relevant under this agenda item, but I think one thing that may well fall out of the risk document that is produced is the issue around, good communication with members of the pension schemes. It's such a technical and intricate area at the moment. I think that it's really important to recognise that the pension department have started to do a really good job on this. They've put out quite a good bit of written communication to try and explain where things are at. But I wonder if maybe something we could consider adding to the forward work programme would be the idea of maybe some regular video style updates. I think that these documents tend to be really long and quite technical. And I think those video updates may achieve the aim of informing the scheme members a bit more than what we maybe are now. Thanks.
Yeah, and just to respond to that, Gareth, I take Ian's view on this as well. I'm almost wondering whether there is under an item on the agenda around communications to members, and so that it's a check-in for us as we go through the next few years and the implementation of McLeod and O'Brien. It is so important, isn't it? Welcome your thoughts, Ian.
Yeah, it's something we can have a think about between us. I suppose sometimes obviously you issue the communication, or sometimes it might be via the funds or something we can. We certainly have discussions around it when we issue communications, but it's how I guess we cover that off with the board, so the board have those reassurances and input, I suppose, to some of that activity. So yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, thank you, Gareth. You got your hands up again?
Only just to come back, that it might be a risk, or it might be seen as a risk of adding an additional workload to some of the departments that are already, quite stretched capacity-wise. But if it's done well, and if it improves the information that's put out there consistently to members, it may actually, in the long run, reduce workload so that they're not having individuals phone in asking the same question a number of times. And potentially they could identify trends in questions and then use that to inform the next kind of video communication put out. Something along those lines, I think.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll pick that.
Okay. Thank you all. So item 10 was just considering the items of business deemed urgent. There's nothing that I've got. I'm just looking on the table online to see if there's anything else that anybody wanted to raise. Okay. Do we have a date for the next meeting? Is that in there, Cal?
15th of October.
Okay. Thank you. What I suggest, Dave, just for yourself, because I know you missed items 1 to 5, probably if there's anything of note that you think is, you'd like to queries, maybe when the minutes come out from Kelly, if there's anything you would need any clarification on that you might have missed, just you can send a response to myself or Alison, and we'll come back and cover anything that you might have any queries on. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Okay, well, thank you, everyone, and thank you for the contribution today and for those online as well. So we'll see you in October.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.